Welcome back, once again adventurers, to Let's Play ChäoS. In the last episode, Takumi Nishijo grumbled at having to spend another day at Suume Academy, but he had to if he wanted to follow his minimum attendance shift chart and not fail graduation, despite his own personal reservations. Before he arrived at the school, however, he noticed that he was being followed by a very peculiar student of Suume Academy, but managed to avoid running into said student shortly after arriving at the campus. Later that afternoon, he spent some more time at Ad Cafe, where it turns out that said student was actually occupying room 36, the room that's next to the room that he currently uses, which is room 37. Of course, not wanting to repeat the mistakes of the past by going into a side alley, he tried to go via the main street, and instead of running into the previously mysterious demon girl, he instead ran into the Suume student who has been following him all this time. Now, of course, Takumi's mental state is going presently haywire, so we're going to help him out by allowing him to experience a positive delusion first. We'll get to the trauma when we get there. Stunned, I took a single step back. On the other side of the crosswalk, that girl was there. In the midst of the people waiting for the light to change. The light is still currently red, which means we aren't meant to cross. And the gaze coming from the depths of her glasses was blatantly pointed at me. She didn't try to look away. Her eyes brimmed with a solemn color, demanding something from me. The light turned green. Girl A began walking along with the other pedestrians. She was coming this way. I couldn't move. I froze in place. It's place with a Z, because that's how you always spell place. She was still looking straight at me. She steadily came closer and closer. And, well, she does actually kind of resemble Moroka Kiryu to some degree. Her face actually has far more emotion than the dead eyes of Moroka could ever emit in any given situation. And then she stopped, right in front of me. Run away, whispered my reason. I think our reason is the only thing that's currently running away right now. But somehow my body wouldn't move. It was as though my consciousness were floating somewhere outside my body. With a slow, deliberate movement, as if she meant to show me something, Girl A reached inside her blazer. She pulled something out of her inner pocket. A knife, or a gun, or a stun gun, or maybe even pepper spray, because that stuff hurts. It made me think I had seen too many TV dramas, but the premonition of something bad coming wouldn't leave my head, probably for good reason. Girl A murmured. Deep in her glasses, her gaze remained unmoving, since long before it had been fixed solely on my eyes.
Huh?
Apparently we dropped something. What she held out to me was my student ID book. Did we drop this back at that cafe? I took it without thinking. When I opened it, my name and my headshot photo were inside. The student handbook was mine.
西条匠くんって言うんですね。
Her face, which had been stony up until just now, suddenly softened.
すいません、勝手に中身を見ちゃって。私も同じ学校なんです。
I think we could infer that fact from the fact that you were currently wearing a Surume Academy blazer.
よろしく。
She'd knocked the winds out of my sails. Could this mean that it had all been the product of my paranoia? If only.
ところで西条くんは付き合ってる人いますか？
Rather odd question out of the blue there.
いません。
本当ですか？じゃあよかったら私と。
A relationship flag. It's here. My days of living in real life have only just begun, said the Shutton Neat who proclaimed his love for all things 2D anime. And you'll notice that the little IRL there is in blue text. That means that it is one of the many tips of ChäoS Head. Unfortunately, well, if I didn't mention it as being IRL, A, you've been living under a rock all this time and don't know what internet lingo actually is, especially basic internet lingo from 10 years ago. And also, we can't actually read this definition in the tips because the tips are not localized patch-wise. They'd just be in Japanese kanji that I have absolutely no idea how to read. But of course, as it does, reality has to cut into the delusion, sooner or later. And we were brought back by the honking of a car. I came back to myself with a gasp. The light that should have turned green was still red. Girl A, who should have been right in front of my eyes, was still on the other side of the crosswalk. In other words, nothing has changed. Just now. Did I imagine that? And apparently all in the span of a single second. This time the light really did turn green. The pedestrians began walking all at once. Except for her and us. I couldn't move. Girl A didn't move. Unmoving, she stared straight at me. It was as though time had stopped solely for the two of us. Why didn't that bespectacled girl start walking? Why was she still standing in place? She's weird. She's strange. I mustn't get involved with her. Maybe she's more like Maruka Kiryu in real life than I first imagined. It would be better to run. I should run away while I still had the chance. Run. Berating my weak-willed and withering heart, I dashed off in a straight line away from Girl A. I ran back down Dugan Hill, though I'd just come up from it, and entered a side road I'd encountered along the way. Before we get to that side road, we're actually going to jump back in time yet again, so bear with me one moment. And we're back in the past yet again. At the moment, while we're still here waiting for the pedestrian light to turn from red to green, the mysterious girl A is still staring at Takumi with those solemnly shaded eyes. And this time, Takumi's paranoia is definitely going to go for the definitely going to get the better of him in this instance. So without further ado, her eyes brimmed with a solemn color, demanding something from me. Perhaps reflecting the headlights of a passing car, A's glasses shone sharply, and she's laughing in a very creepy manner. I heard it through her twisted lips, a sound like mocking laughter. Even though we were so far apart, even though there were so many people, my ears picked up on that sigh-like sound of her laughter. Laughing, she suddenly pulled up the hem of her skirt. From underneath it, something glittered and fell to the ground in huge numbers. Oh dear. That's not good. They resembled crosses. An image of the stakes I had seen at the pinned-in-place crime scene appeared in my head like a flash of light. And now she's standing right in front of us, and her eyes are shining rather oddly. Her expression was perfect in its abnormality. Eyes bloodshot, cheeks pulled back and twitching. She smiled only with her mouth. And as if she thought of something, she forced her way out from the people waiting for the light to change. Though it was still red, she stepped out onto the crosswalk. My body shrank with terror. I thought I would run away, but my feet were rooted to the ground and wouldn't move, nor could I speak. It appears that Girl A has suddenly taken on the aspects of a yandere in this case, which is very unfortunate. She was drawing me closer. She was crossing the street, gripping one of those cross-like stakes. Don't come here. The moment after I prayed for that, Girl A's body was sent flying by an oncoming truck. Screams rose from all around. From where I was standing, blocked by the crowd, I couldn't see what had become of her. But surely she was dead. She had to be dead. She had to be lying on the road like an old rag, drenched in blood. I'm saved, I thought inappropriately. But yet again, 'tis but a delusion. I came back to myself with a gasp. My whole body was sweating unpleasantly. Well, that was a very terrifying delusion, if I do say so myself. Very morbid, but then again, the red delusions definitely are. And going to time leap yet again back to the moment before this took place to experience the truth behind reality. So I will see you all in just a moment. And we're back, yet again, adventurers, back to this one singular moment. Already experienced the good delusion, we've experienced the bad delusion, and now we're going to experience what is actually really happening in the three-dimensional world. Between Takumi Nishijo and the mysterious Girl A. Paralyzed, I couldn't look away. She's still standing there. Without warning, Girl A's mouth moved. She was trying to say something. But the noise kept coming from around us. But the noise coming from around us was too loud, and there was no way I could hear her. Mesmerized, I focused my eyes on the movement of her lips. Now, in real life, I would imagine that lip reading is actually incredibly difficult to do. But I wouldn't personally know myself. Whose eyes are those eyes? All the hair on my body stood on end with a shudder. That was impossible. Just my imagination. because it wasn't as if I could read lips or anything. I'd simply read them wrong. Or did we? Maybe she did utter those ominous 5 words that should only really exist within the consciousness of Takumi Nishijo. That is pretty much either, depending on how you look at it, the third, fourth, or fifth time that we've heard those. I've actually lost count. But yet again, that phrase has reared its ugly head, and there might be more to those innocuous words than meets the eye. Shaking my head, I fought to turn my eyes away from her. Whatever the result, the only certain factor was that Girl A had said something. Regardless of what she'd said, doing that to me when we'd never met before was way too eerie. I mustn't get involved with her. Yeah, we should go while the getting's good. It would be better to run. I should run away while I still have the chance. Run. Berating my weak-willed and withering heart, I dashed off in a straight line away from Goal A. I ran back down Dugan Hill, though I'd just come up it, and entered a side road I'd encountered along the way. Hopefully not the alleyway that we were trying to avoid this whole time. That instant, something slammed violently into my shoulder, and I fell down. Well, and looks like in his panic, Takumi spent too much of his time looking back where Girl A was standing to pay attention to where he was actually going. I groaned, failing to understand what had happened to me, as pain ran through my whole body. It took me a while to start pushing myself up, and pushing is there twice for some reason. When I raised my face, there was a large scooter toppled over in the middle of the road. I must have collided with it. Well, I can definitely say that whoever owns this scooter is going to be very upset that we just ran into it. Gritting my teeth, I tried forcing myself to stand, but my legs wouldn't support me. Nothing seemed to be broken, but
大丈夫ですか？
before I knew it, Girl A was right in front of my eyes. She peered into my face as though she were worried about me. That was surprisingly quick, considering the fact that that wasn't even 5 minutes that we didn't end up injuring ourselves. But yeah, yet again, seems like in reality, whoever Girl A is, she has far more emotion than Moeka Kiryu, aka Shining Finger, could ever muster. Not that she didn't have emotion, it's just that she hardly ever exhibited it. And also the fact that this girl actually speaks in complete sentences. What was with her? What was with this girl? My body wouldn't move for me. Pathetic as it was, I was petrified. I didn't know what to do. With things having turned out like this, I regretted that I hadn't used the train to get to Shinsen to get home.
怪我してませんか？
She's actually genuinely concerned. Girl A called out to me cautiously. Was she scheming to catch me off my guard by pretending to be concerned about me? I won't let you fool me. I won't get taken in by the likes of some 3D chick.
なんなんだよ。
え？
ついてくるなよ。僕に何の用だ。
Yeah, there is still the very real point of this strange girl actually following Takumi for pretty much the entire day. She looked bewildered. I desperately derided her while scooting back on my butt in hopes of opening even a little distance between us. If I didn't do so, I thought maybe she'd pull a knife out of her clothes any second and come attack me. That gruesome spectacle revived at the back of my mind over and over. No matter what I did, I kept wondering whether I would end up the same way. And she seems very distressed by that. She lowered her head, her expression wounded.
えっと、あの、あなたが急に走り出して様子を見に来たら倒れてたので心配で。でも、今は用事とかあるわけじゃないんですが、えっと、
Not as if she has any business with me, she says. Way too cryptic.
じゃあなんで付きまとってくるんだ。
それは、
She fumbled her words. As expected, her behavior was far too suspicious.
私、楠ゆあって言います。
So we finally have a name. We can no longer resort to calling her Girl A. Yua Kusunoki, which is actually a rather nice name. No one had asked her to, but she suddenly started introducing herself.
実は、あなたのこと、一目見て、なんとなく存在が気になって。
What exactly would that be?
それで、つい。
She just ended up tailing me? This woman, who introduced herself as Yua, gradually lowered her glance while blabbering something obscure.
ごめんなさい。
She furiously bowed her head. Impossible. That was my honest reaction. Despite the fact that we're still in pain from having run straight into the front of a scooter. Looking at her like this, the girl called Yua was rather cute. I acknowledged that. Which is exactly why I didn't believe her. A 3D girl who felt favorably towards me? What was this, an eroge? In my whole life up until now, no one had ever said something like that to me. That was why this sudden confession could only ring false to me. Did she think I'd rejoice over it? Regardless of the fact that she'd been creeping around me like a stalker up until a short while ago? Who can truly say what the truth of the matter is? We don't know just yet. I might dig a character like that in 2D world, but I didn't want to see it in real life. It'd send me reeling back, and I was incredibly embarrassed. I wanted to get away from here right away. The third dimension really is shit, to put you under the pressure of anxiety when all you're doing is talking.
僕は三次元に興味はないよ。いや。
Yeah, unfortunately you can't take those words back.
め
I stammered because I was attempting to say something harsh. Even so, I had to make it clear to her, or she'd keep hovering around me later. No thanks. I pass on that.
迷惑だよ。つきまとわないでよ。
すいません。
Seeing her hunch over and fall silent, I wondered if she'd really reconsidered. No, don't let her trick you. Don't trust anything in the third dimension. All I could trust was the second dimension. I had more faith in Seraton's words than in whatever this girl said. To be honest, I wouldn't entirely trust the antics of an animate magical girl myself, but I digress.
もうついてこないでね。僕帰るから。
Faltering, I fought to stand up. My body still hurt here and there. My shoulder in particular had trouble moving, and an intermittent dull pain kept running through it. The pain briefly made me dizzy. I might have hit my head when I fell. Yua hurriedly caught at my hand and supported me as I stumbled.
怪我してるんですね。手貸します。
It was a lot of work to avoid meeting her eyes, no doubt about it. My face was turning bright red. She'd make fun of me if she saw it, so I turned my face aside and roughly shook off Yua's hand. Yua was still injured. The inside of my head was pure white. I almost never touched females other than my family members. I felt the pulse in my chest growing steadily faster and
お
faster.
家まで送ります。あなたが怪我したのは私が付きまとっちゃったせいですから。だから送らせてください。
I was happy at her suggestion. I wasn't used to having others be nice to me, so even though she was a 3-year girl who previously induced only revulsion in me, I was in serious danger of falling for her. That was why I didn't have the courage to look at Yua face to face. Besides, she was a stalker, and she might be related to that demon girl, and I didn't want to die. Anyway, I was attempting to think about a lot of things, but I couldn't think of anything, and I became more and more discombobulated.
お家どこですか？
Would you believe me if I told you it was a shipping container on the top of an apartment building?
深セン。
深セン？
Oh crap, I thought as soon as I nodded. Why did I have to tell her? What was I expecting from her? At most, this would turn out to be a delusion. Or else, at the very, very end, I'd be thrust down from the pinnacle of happiness and fall into a despair. That kind of pattern appears a lot in anime. A death flag had gone up for me. Without my realizing it, Yua had slipped under my shoulder to help hold me up. Her soft body was practically glued to me. Her hair smelled nice. Impossible. There was no way a 3D girl would be this nice to someone like me.
歩けますか？
Probably not very well would be my answer. And ellipses is apparently Takumi's. When she asked me, I made the mistake of nodding again.
じゃあ行きましょう。
Yua spoke nervously and began to slowly move forward, watching my feet. She was doing so much for me that I could no longer refuse her or shake her off. Helpless, I had no choice but to start walking, borrowing the assistance of her delicate shoulders. Neither Yua nor I spoke until we reached the building where my base was located. And I believe now is a good time to end this episode of Let's Play ChäoS Head. So when we return, hopefully Yua can succeed at bringing Takumi all the way from the street here up to his base in the shipping container on the roof of the Kurenai building. And I will see you inside. But that will be for next time. As always, dear adventurers, until next we meet.